Welcome back everyone. So today I want to talk a little bit about the Battlefield series, i.e. which was the best, which was the worst in my opinion. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but I've been on Reddit quite a bit and I've seen a few arguments made for which Battlefield was best, and a lot of people are saying Battlefield 3 and Battlefield Bad Company are best. However, those people are wrong. Okay, that's just my opinion, but my opinion's pretty good, so I'm going to stick with it. But anyway, let's just go through the Battlefields, well, basically the ones I've played. So my Battlefield history goes back as far as, I think, 2004, when I was gifted a copy of Battlefield Vietnam. For some reason, I just didn't really gel with that game at all, but never mind, we'll fast forward on to 2006, when I played Battlefield 2 around my mate's house. It was a total revelation for me. I had to buy this game. And why was that? Because it was something completely different. It was another shooter, but it was like tactical. You had the commander overview, and the fact that you just had such a wide playing area and the combined arms factor, i.e. things actually worked, like the helicopters worked, the tanks worked, the jets worked. It was just gobsmacking at the time. And it was thanks to Battlefield 2 that I really started to appreciate tactical shooters. I loved the fact that you could have communication between the squad leaders and the commander with his overview. It was just a genius move, and that actually led me to a lifelong love of tactical shooters, which is why today I play a lot of things like Squad, Project Reality and Hell Let Loose. And from a nostalgia point of view, Battlefield 2 is probably one of my all-time top 5 video games. However, that's not to say it was perfect. Remember the dolphin diving? Remember all the constant radio chatter, which was annoying as anything? Yeah, it hasn't aged well, and I've been playing it recently, which is another good thing about it, is like if you want to delve into the past, you certainly can. There are tools that let you do that, and there's actually a video I've got on my channel if you want to do that. Hasn't aged well, but thanks for the memories. So then what came out next? Well, I think it was Battlefield 2142, and I kind of skipped that. The whole sci-fi scene just wasn't appealing to me. And then my next game was Battlefield Bad Company 2, and for me, this was kind of a, well, it was a massive disappointment. Possibly one of the worst Battlefields I've ever played. Yes, the destruction was amazing. It was the first kind of like iteration of the Frostbite engine. But it was also where we saw what I like to call the codification of Battlefield as a series. Whereas 2 had been quite tactical, we now went completely run and gun with this. There was no commander, and although that did make a comeback in Battlefield 4, it's never really been quite the same. The series is very much run and gun and casual. I was hoping by the time 3 had come out, we'd have probably made a return to that kind of more tactical sort of playstyle, but alas, no. It's not to say it's bad, it's just very different to what I actually imagined and wanted. But just coming back to Bad Company, what didn't I like about it? Well, the gunplay wasn't particularly crisp, neither were the graphics. I found the movement kind of quite janky. The maps were smallish and bottlenecky, i.e. plenty of choke points, and the base rate was off the charts. And then customization was, it was severely lacking. And that's not to mention the fact that you couldn't go prone, you had a max of 32 players, and there were no combined arms. It's not a Battlefield game if you haven't got jets in there. Now, I'm no pilot, but you shouldn't be calling your game Battlefield anything if one of the main components is missing. It's a bit like trying to sell somebody a chess set, but then saying, hey, there's no pawns in this chess set. It's not bloody chess then, is it? Likewise, this wasn't a Battlefield. Okay, so I've just had to have a little bit of a breather because, as you've gathered, I'm not a fan of Battlefield Bad Company. But moving on to 2011, we got Battlefield 3. Now, this is the other game that people love to say is the best Battlefield game ever. But you know what? They're wrong as well. We were now into full run and gun casual mode. We'd lost the commander and any tactical credibility. However, even though it's not the best in my opinion, it is a truly excellent game. So the issues I had are as follows. Movement can be quite iffy. Generally it's pretty smooth, but I do find myself getting stuck on objects for no apparent reason. I always found that quite awkward, especially kind of trying to vault through windows. It's like, what is going on here? Then there was the grenade spam. I have never seen so many grenades in one game. In some matches, it was just literally raining grenades. Then one thing I wasn't a particular fan of was the customization menu. It was great in the fact that you could change a lot of things, but I found it quite awkward and slow to use on the fly as compared to Battlefield 4's. And finally, the most annoying thing, yes, I know it's a cliche, but it's the stupid sun glare and the blue tint filters. What was that all about? Now, the blue tint just looks stupid, and yes, you can use stuff like reshape to negate the effects, but literally, come on, the sun glare, oh my god, it's literally the first game I had to wear sunglasses to play. That's it for my bitch list. Fair enough. Not the biggest laundry list of complaints, but combined they were enough to kind of knock the sheen off what is essentially a really great game, and I'm super happy to see that Battlefield 3 at the moment is actually having quite a bit of a renaissance. I've been playing a hell of a lot lately, and I'm talking between January and now, which is April of 2020. I've never seen so many people back in the game, and it's really good to see a lot of maps and modes that are back in rotation that I hadn't seen in years. And now we come to the best ever Battlefield, Battlefield 4. Or as I like to call it, Battlefield 3.5. So why do I call it that? Well, literally, it came out 2 years after Battlefield 3. It came out in 2013, remember Battlefield 3 came out in 2011, and the main difference here is there was a change in the Frostbite engine. They moved from 2 to 3. Which might explain why they had such a disastrous launch, but to be honest, it didn't affect me at all because I picked the game up in early 2014 during an Origin sale, and like I said, didn't affect me because by that time all the problems had pretty much been sorted, and so my experience has generally just been positive. So what makes Battlefield 4 better than Battlefield 3 in my opinion? Well, basically they took the blueprint of BF3 and they just smoothed out all of the rough edges, they got rid of the stupid tints, they made the interface a lot more intuitive and quicker to use, player movement was a lot smoother, and maps were polished and interactive. After all, who doesn't really enjoy a little bit of levolution every now and again? But yeah, so to recap, Battlefield 4, the best. Why? Because it built on what had come before. It just gave us that experience, but with a buttery smooth kind of veneer. A classic example of evolution, not revolution, as a kind of recipe for success. However, one thing I wanted to point out, even though I wasn't actually affected by the launch issues, we did see the beginning of EA's money-making machine trying to pump out a major Battlefield title every 2 years. Policy which has led to consumers being asked to pay full price for what is essentially an early access title. And in the case of Battlefield 5, now it could be argued an unfinished early access title. So after BF4, we got Battlefield Hardline. I'm going to give that game all the respect it deserves. So Battlefield 1 came out in 2016. I didn't actually pick it up until 2017, but by then I'd noticed there was a major split in the community. Now, looks-wise, I agree. Battlefield 1 is the best looking Battlefield. There's no arguing with it. It is a gorgeous looking game. But by this point, a lot of people were saying, oh, it is just pure run and gun. There's nothing tactical about this. It's super casual. And yes, it is. That's what Battlefield is now as a series. It is what it is, and you can either choose to play it or you can choose to play something else. Now, I myself didn't really click with this game until kind of mid-2019, which is a hell of a long time after the initial release. I think it's a lot to do with the actual initial weapons that you were given. They had, in my opinion, the accuracy and bullet spread of the projectile vomit. And it wasn't until I actually sat down and ground out all of the unlocks that I was able to start getting to a point where I could honestly say I was enjoying the game. If I do have any major criticisms of the game though, I would say for a World War I game, it played a hell of a lot like a World War II one. I mean, there were plenty of semi-auto and fully auto weapons all over the place. And whilst not completely anachronistic, it was a bit of a tenuous link, but let's face it, those are just design choices that had to be made to provide you with an entertaining game. After all, if we were going to play an authentic simulated experience of World War I, we'd all be sat in trenches taking pot shots at one another until we decided to have a mass slaughter in the middle of no man's land. But to sum this game up in a nutshell, I thought Battlefield 1 was a very pretty, casual World War II shooter with some crappy guns at the beginning. Better than Bad Company, but not as good as Battlefield 3 or 4. And finally, let's just talk a little bit about Battlefield 5, the actual long-awaited World War II shooter. What do I think of that? I think it's alright. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just adequate, which isn't great for a Battlefield game, but that's the truth. In fact, I like it a lot more than Battlefield Bad Company, but that's not exactly a good thing. I do find the gunplay and the sniping to be quite satisfying, but overall the game has had a touch of the George Lucas's, i.e. they couldn't leave well enough alone, they kept going back to tinker with it, and the result is the equivalent of a plastic surgeon's botch job. And if somebody were to ask me, is it worth getting, I would say yes, on sale for a £5, but first check if 3, 4 or 1 are on sale. Right, so I hope you enjoyed all those little summaries. Let's actually put those games in order one more time. So, which are the best Battlefield games in my opinion? So in first position, the game to buy before you die is Battlefield 4. No arguments, you can say what you like, you're wrong. Followed by Battlefield 3, the noble predecessor. It laid the foundations for what Battlefield 4 became, but still Battlefield 3 in second position. The third best Battlefield I've played is also the first. Battlefield I played. So, Battlefield 2. Yeah, it's a bit long in tooth, but damn it, I was playing it the other day, so if you're playing a game like 15 years after it came out, it can't all be bad. In 4th place, Battlefield 1, because it's still a pretty solid experience. And in 5th, Battlefield 5, because the sniping's quite fun. Now, you may have noticed, I'm not giving Battlefield Bad Company any position whatsoever, because I wouldn't do a wee-wee on it, even if it was on fire. Right, so there was my list of all the Battlefields that I've actually played, my top 5, and a best left on console abomination. So that is it for the video. You let me know in the comments down below if you agree or you disagree. Also let me know which games you're still playing, and if you want to join me for a game, just hit me up on Origin. But in the meantime, help me feed the YouTube algorithm by leaving a like and subbing. Don't forget to wash your hands, look after yourselves, and until next time, this is HippCelt signing off.